What's up, Crowie here? Another episode of Sparky Coach Podcast coming at ya. We're going to talk today about changing the goalposts, adjusting the goalposts. Do you remember when you were a kid? Maybe just me. I always remember my first job. Do you remember your first job? I think my first job was delivering medicines for the chemists, probably legal medicines, I would suggest. But hey, who knows? Who knows what you're delivering when you're 12? You're not even thinking like that, potentially. Just delivering some stuff, $6 an hour. I got my strawberry donut straight after from the bakery, which I believe are 50 cents. And I probably dropped 2 donuts. So, you're losing about 10% to the sweet tooth on the strawberry donuts. I love a good sweet. Lolly's probably my absolute vice, right? What's your vice? Is it lollies, chocolate, ice cream? What is it? Hopefully it's something. Last night I got Elodie a Fanta. We went to this school play in Ballina. One of our friends was in it. And they had like a limited soft drink option. And I brought her back a Fanta. And she's like, we've been together for 20 years. Have you ever seen me drink a Fanta? And I'm like, this is a really good question. I'm going to say no. So long story short, make sure you know your partner or wives or boyfriends or girlfriends order. Yeah, whatever. Great play though. Strongly suggest you to go and do that. But changing the goalposts, the job I was talking about in particular, the second job I think was at Deli France, this bakery. I think I've mentioned this before. The guy would the boss would go nuts, right? Nuts, loco. Don't you know I'm loco? Like I swear to God, you can ask my mate. He pinned one of my friends, Hobbsy, up against in this back alley of Miranda Fair, and he was like, and this guy's crazy. He was the definition of crazy. And I was getting $5.48. Got a pay rise to $5.66. The year was probably 1998, 7, 8, something like that ish. And I remember. At that stage, you sort of saving money, probably for a car, I would suggest. At 14, you're saving money to get a car. At 17, I bought God's gift to cars, an 87 Ford Laser with rust holes, bigger than your head. Probably bigger than your head. Potentially even bigger than your body. I'm not even sure how this thing was running. It was just like rust on wheels, just like it rolling, right? It's crazy. I've said this story before on the pod, but driving to Surf This Wave headlands with my mate Tomo, and there was water pouring in, and we were like bucketing water out from under our feet. So yeah, Ford Laser, RIP, had some good times in that. And but do you remember back in those days when I was going to say you're time poor, but you're not time poor at that season of your life. You're just probably poor. You're probably just like, I don't know, for me, it was like you remember when you're putting like $20 in the car or $10 or $30? Funny story, I used to live, my mate Brett was down, not quite down the hill and up the hill, but we had to go down this hill near our high school and back up the hill. And I ran out of petrol so many times at going up this hill, and then Brett would get his Camry wagon, no, Camry sedan, I think, might have been a wagon, and sort of push me gently, just like car on car, just pushing me gently to the petrol station. Wild times. No petrol gauge on the Ford Laser, like a petrol gauge, but it was always empty. So you're always gauging the kilometres until you actually forgot to reset the kilometres, and you're like, oh, when did I last fill up, and when did I drive to? So you're always sort of erring on the side of caution. Bank account's always running a little bit low. And I remember my first apprenticeship, I think I was getting... It might have been $6 an hour. My friend Brad Sutho on $4.95. Crazy. Hey, Brad. And then, how's it feel now, Brad? How's it feel? Nah, Brad's a legend. We love Brad. He's killing it at the moment, actually. God bless Brad and all he brings to our life. But I remember filling up. Remember when you're paying cash? This is back in the cash days. I keep cash alive. I'm a big fan of cash. Tradies are a big fan of cash. The cash monster, the sea monster, you might even say. But I remember, when you're trying to hit 20, like you're trying to get to $20, but if you go to 20.02, they'll still charge you $20 cash. Not like the card times when you hit 20.02 and you get charged 20.02. I'm talking cash. I'm talking cash is king. I'm talking paying cash for things when you're filling up $50.02 and they're going to charge you $50. When you hit $50.03, they charge you $50.05. So you're way better off going to 7 because they're going to round it down to the nearest 5 because that's all we had access to in a, I'm not going to say more or less a cash society, but lots of those credit cards items, they weren't readily acceptable as they are now. And not everything was electronic at that point. We were still playing Super Nintendo. Remember Super Nintendo when you're like blowing the cartridge out? I swear to God this works. Donkey Kong on Super Nintendo, Mario Kart, some of my favorites. But I remember filling the petrol tank up and you're basically like, you're just trying to get over. Like that, they're just trying to hit the right amount. It's the same thing with coffee in the morning. Coffee, we've got this little scheme of events, and it's filter coffee, so pour water over ground coffee beans, and essentially, you know, you're looking at roughly 300 grams of water for roughly 20 grams of beans-ish, give or take a little bit. But hey, I'm a perfectionist, and I love math, I love numbers, so I'm always trying to hit that 700 on the dot. If you're making, well, not 700, but you're making 600 if you're making 2, or 300 if you're making 1. So you're pouring on, trying to hit the exact gram, trying to get the gram right. And what I want to encourage you here is you know, what's this got to do with my electrical business? What are you talking about? What is this guy talking about? Don't you reckon so often with quotes, we're trying to get them perfect? Like, don't you reckon we're trying to go like, oh, this is what you see. The most common thing, one of the most common things I see in quoting is, and this is going to happen across the board through your quoting career, especially if you're a nice person, nice guy, nice girl, especially if you care about the person you're quoting for, which you should. That's the way to a great business, is to actually care about the product and care about the person you're delivering the product to, because it's that person that's going to buy the product. If the product's good, they'll keep coming back. And if you can combine those two and make a profit, hey, you're doing some good things. But I remember like watching people. So I sit with people's numbers pretty much, like, not say all week, but a lot of the week. A lot of our sessions are in and around how did that job go, you know? And so often you see people at any stage of business misquoting jobs. Have you ever misquoted a job before? And so many times people are like, oh yeah, I quoted $7,000 and someone came in at 4. I quoted 20, someone came in at 15. And how are these people doing it for this? How are these people doing it for this? And it's like, I mean, I'd love to judge, but I've definitely been that person that has quoted incorrectly. And whether, I know for my life, business has been such a journey of self-exploration and recognizing my vices. And my vices are always, I guess, going back to sort of self-sabotage, like feeling bad for making money, or just being like disorganized, huge one. Just being like, so the quote's late, so I'll just get it out. And sometimes, don't you reckon when you're sending quotes, sometimes you're just trying to tick it off your to-do list and feel the dopamine hit of ticking it off, when you just like, it's irrelevant if it's right or not. It's irrelevant, like, it doesn't matter. Should I have checked it? I don't know, I got to send it because it's late. Gaga! Sent. Not even schedule send on Gmail, like send, like a sent. You can't take it back. It's out there. It's in the ether. It's in the World Wide Web, baby. What is the world? It's in the cloud. Where's the cloud? No one knows what the cloud is, but you're sending this stuff and you know, in reflecting, and sometimes we're just trying to get through it and we're not being thorough. And what we're doing is we're doing all the hard thing really easy. We're going around a site and collecting the details, and built that relationship with that client, and we're doing all the right stuff. We're answering the phone. We're getting back to here. Just when it comes time to quote, sometimes we're a bit disorganized, a bit disheveled, and we're sending it late, and we're sending it, it's not right, but it's late, so it's got to go out, so I've got to send it, and I'm just going to guess that price. I'm just going to, better miscommunicate that. So, and so many times, back to the journey of self-exploration, business is going to show you, like, your strengths, like, and your weaknesses. It's going to show you what you're good at, and it's going to show you what you're not good at. So if you're good at burying things up and bottling things up, like Talladega Nights, like, I'll just bury it right down nice and deep. Like if you're good at burying things down, you're going to walk past hard conversations. If you're walking past hard conversations are only going to get harder, and you're going to have a more or less difficult, very difficult, or impossible conversation. You can reference that personally or professionally, right? If you're walking past someone continually and not, I'm not saying not speaking the truth, because that's not the right way to put it, but if someone's consistently late or consistently making mistakes, and you're not discussing it in a really healthy manner, in a really healthy conflict resolution manner, it can come to a point of bottling up for you where it boils over, and it eventually boils over to negatively impact or negatively affect a relationship, and that can result in staff members parting ways, clients parting ways, all because the conversation you should have had 3 months ago you didn't have. And you can reference that to a staff member or variations bill. So you're installing something, the client adds some things, you're like, I know I should talk to them, that's an extra and I hadn't quoted for that, but they know. Have you said that before? They know that's an extra. Oh, I know they know. And then it comes time to invoice, and it's late at night, and you're not making any money, and I'll just send them this invoice, and that was an $800 install times 2 and $600, and the client gets it, and client gets it at 10:07 p.m. and the client's trying to go to sleep. Maybe they're wrestling in their bed on their nice pillow. Bing, something bings, and they like check it. Wait, $8,500. He told me 7. And then all of a sudden, like what should have been a simple discussion early, and the client, every time the client receives an invoice, it should be exactly what you said. So the clients receive this invoice for 8,600, and it should have been 7. And they're like, this guy's trying to rip me off. And then you're like, this guy's trying to take advantage and not pay his bill. And there's this real disconnect. And what really happened, if you look back, if you critically think, well, if you look back, I should have just had that conversation. Hey, I can do this. Extra $1,600, $1,500, $2,000, $20,000, gold jacket, green jacket, doesn't really matter. And the clients then got the choice to choose to accept it or choose to not accept it. The danger is when you're doing variations and doing work for someone and then sending a bill without properly discussing it, essentially you're spending their money, or essentially you could be spending their money without them realizing it, and that's a very difficult and dangerous territory to navigate. I had a big theory with all my staff members, but just be like, hey, so this is where it's really important. This isn't even the topic, but how good's this? This is like, you have to have clear job notes, descriptions on all your quotes, and jobs in general. So here's what's allowed, here's the time allowed. Then your staff members, if the carpet doesn't match the drapes, something's changed, we've got to discuss that with the client before we start, and we've got to know who's paying. Is either I used to say to my staff members, someone's got to pay for this. Is it you? It's not going to be you. I would never do that to you. Although sometimes I would want to, you know what I mean? Anyone with staff's like, yes, see, I get it. So I'm not going to make you pay for it. I would never do that. The client might be paying for it. The builder might be paying for it. Developer, commercial company, or the owner, or my company. Like who's paying for it? Do we know? We need to know, and that person needs to know before we push. But moving back into that, like, business is going to show you your shortcomings like straight up. And for me, I'm an optimist. If you probably can't tell, like I like to see the brighter side of things. Like I do believe everything's going to be okay. I do believe everything that is happening is meant to happen. And yeah, I do believe you can make better decisions on that. But I believe that, even the bad things or bad decisions we make or poor decisions we make can all affect us in such a positive way. So you can make a bad decision, and if you approach it correctly and be like, you know what, I'm going to learn from that, then something good or something great or something excellent can come from that, right? So I'm a big believer in, we're all on this sort of journey, and so I'm an optimist, right? But what was happening, I was quoting optimistically. So if you don't know this about me, I am the self-appointed and self-anointed electrical god. Right? Sent down by trade god Jesus to a city near you, to a city south of Sydney. No, I mean, most business owners started their business because you're good, great, excellent on the tools. That's why I did. I felt like I had a gift, and I was swinging pliers, kissing babies, and smashing green plugs in the wall. But, I was very capable at my job. I don't know. I feel like I'd still be pretty good. I have been off the tools for a long time now, although you probably can't tell by looking at the body. That was a joke, by the way. But coming into start your business because you're excellent on the tools. And the danger is when you're excellent on the tools, what you can do it in is probably irrelevant, or probably not, it's not relevant for what someone else can do it for. And as you grow your company, not everyone is you. You might get a you might get like, you might train a you up, you might employ a you, and they're as good as you, as quick as you, as great communicator as you are, all that kind of stuff. And you would call them, I'm not going to call them the unicorns, because I don't believe in unicorns. No, my little boy Jasper goes like, Daddy, are unicorns real? I'm like, do you think they're real? He's like, yeah. I'm like, sick. keep that imaginative state at that age going, right? Like, that's freaking legendary. I love that. So it's like, you know, I was quoting things to best case person, i.e. me, and best case scenario, because I'm an optimist. So if the best case scenario was a day and we were $1,000 a day, and our materials are like this and this, like, yeah, cool, we can do it for 1,200 now, or 1,500, or insert days and times here, whatever. And I want this to challenge you. This is going to challenge you this session. You're going to walk out challenged, right? This is Sparky Coach Pod. You leave and you should be asking yourself some hard questions. And I remember for me, and this is really interesting, because like, most people think they're making money, and it's not until the year pans out they're like, it wasn't quite as good as I thought. So I had that killer day, right? That killer day I made X amount of money, that's fantastic. But what you're not seeing is, you're not measuring the bad stuff, because you're an optimist, you don't like to look at the bad stuff or whatever, or you're just too busy to measure. That's a different situation in itself. But like, a lot of us don't measure things because we've got better things to do, and that better thing is on site. And if you trace it back, it's the site stuff that you're comfortable in. So you're doing what you're comfortable with, rather than pushing to the uncomfort level, which is the office, but the money's made a loss in the office. So I had to, when I started job costing, my eyes were open. I was like, you talk about enlightenment, this is maximum enlightenment. And this week in our group sessions, we had this, what we call take two. We took 2 of our good jobs for the last 1 to 3 weeks, and 2 of our bad jobs for the last 1 to 3 weeks, and sat there and measured it. And it's not until you look, when you measure it on our calculator, on our conversion calculator, we've got calculators for this stuff, right? And we've done this stuff. And it's funny, because it's like, anyone can build a calculator and look at numbers, right? But we're not looking at, we're looking at the number, but we're also looking at the process. We're looking at the number, we're looking at the process. So when we're measuring these jobs, it's amazing. I guarantee you, most small businesses are making really good money in like items A, B, and C, and they're losing money on D, E, and F, and then not recognizing it. So they're in this consistent seesaw of make money, make money, money, make money, money, money. Bring your green hat, right? Let's go. How good is Old School, that movie? Just stop what you're doing, turn this podcast off, and go and watch it, because it is the best movie, in my opinion. Far out. Is that the best movie of all time? Maybe. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger Jr. Close second. No, I've never seen that. Maybe I have seen it, can't remember. But you're seesawing through like, make money, lose money, make money, lose money, make money, lose money, and that kind of stuff. And without properly recognizing it, you know, and you see this a lot. This is a great example when someone's got like a day of pre-build, so a price book or whatever, right? So they've got like an exhaust fan changeover, 2 PowerPoints, wall light, change a light switch, insert a couple of other items here. Often the day will balance out well, but 1 or 2 of those items will be full-blown hardcore cooked, and a couple of them you're doing really well off. So you're looking at going like, oh, the day worked out well. But if you break it down, if you just had, let's say your exhaust fan and your light switch changeover weren't properly priced, when it comes time to do that job, just for those 2 items or 3 items, you will be losing money hardcore. So we're pulling ourselves back, right? And we're going, am I quoting best case person, best case scenario? And that's what I was doing. And not only that, combine that optimism with a sheer busyness, a sheer tiredness. Now you're looking at just sending things for the sake of sending them. One of our, shan't name him, if he's listening, you know who I'm talking about. One of our members, very, very, very established business, like doing really good things. And, we sat through this, we measured this job with him the other day, and looked at it, and it was just like, foundationally, like if you looked up cooked in a dictionary, there's a picture of this quote. It was pretty much, it was a $4,500, I can't remember, subboard, switchboard, changeover, it's kind of irrelevant. Materials, 3,600. So, and then it took them 2 days. Like a serious, like real strip out and real punch out, like real serious sort of job. And then, so basically 22% efficient. And we're looking at it going like, I'm like, how did you do this? And it's like, we were quiet. And it, like, don't you know when you're quiet and you just put so much pressure on you to get, like, find the work for the people, but you're better off not having work than having the wrong kind of work. I hope that really speaks to you today. You're better off having no work than having the wrong kind of work. You're better off having no partner than the wrong partner. You're better off having, I was going to say no child, but the wrong child. If you got a child, no. Yeah, you don't get to choose that. You don't get to choose that. But you're better off having no friends. Shout out to the old bodyboard movie, No Friends. You're better off having no friends than the wrong friend. You're better off having no client instead of the wrong client, right? So challenging. But this was the right client, but this is the wrong client. This is the wrong quote. So it's crazy to look at because this client no doubt would have approved a quote for $10,000 more. We were just disorganized, under pressure, sending something in a rush, sending something with not the right pricing happening. And you're looking at it going like, all we had to do was spend 5 extra minutes on this and we would have known. 5 minutes. And this is why we've built a quote checker where you can check all your quotes through this thing and make sure that the carpet, i.e. the quote, matches the drapes, i.e. labor and materials required to perform the job. Such an important part of business. And then on that, what's going to happen here, guys, as you grow the business and as we reflect and look at numbers, it's not all about numbers, although it is about numbers. It's about the person who did the job. So we're looking at billable hours. Great. We can all look at billable hours. We're also looking at the quality of those billable hours. Was it the right person? Did that right person have the right information? Did that okay person get started at the right time? Did the pour down rain and we missed this? Did we have to wait for 3 hours to shut that down because we didn't properly communicate? Like what were the quality of those hours? Is billable hours? Yes, that's a great thing to look at, but it doesn't always tell the whole story. What was the quality of those hours? Sometimes you can look at your quote and when you measure your job and you look at it and you see, let's say it's off, but you had 3 apprentices and 1 tradie. This is an exaggerated example, but go with me. You had 3 apprentices and 1 tradie. You look at it and you're like, okay, one of those apprentices was watching the other apprentice watch the other apprentice do work. So it was like the road traders. I see you watching me, watching you. The best song in the world. Am I right? Yeah. Side note, there's this 90s grunge mix on Spotify playlist, which is like all the hits. So go back there to revisit some childhood times. That sometimes like if you measure it on a labor distribution, you look at it and go, we lost money. But if you look at it and be like, hang on, 2 of those staff members were doing nothing, zilch, right? Nothing. They were useless. Like they were not okay. They shouldn't have been there. So if you look at it like that, you look and go, okay, if I take those 2 apprentices out, we made money. Okay, so the job was mishandled. So the job can be misquoted and mishandled, or misquoted and handled well, or quoted well and handled incorrectly, or combination of a Chinese combination plate, combination fried rice of all of the above. But you've got to check and measure this, and this is the nutsest thing. And I want to call this out. If you're not measuring your stuff, what are you doing? Like, it's why I don't know. I actually don't understand. Like, I cannot understand foundationally. I can because I was there as a tradie. Like as a business owner tradie, I can understand. I can understand that the site stuff's really important, but you've got to snap out of that. And that's why we provide on time for all our members every single week, a time where you can pull yourself out of the hamster wheel, out of the washing machine, out of the dryer, and spend an hour, an hour on your business. If you don't have an hour to spend on your business a week, you might just be too busy. Let's just ask yourself that question. If you don't have, if you're not looking and reflecting on your jobs and days, you might just be too busy. And that should encourage you. That should encourage you to step back, pull back, and start to do some cool stuff with what you've been given, because chances are you've got some great clients and some great people, you've got some great staff, but you might just be missing that final spice, and that might be money. And the business needs to be profitable to sustain itself. It needs to be profitable to pay its staff well. It needs to be profitable to pay the wholesaler on time, to pay tax on time, to pay all this kind of stuff. And you shouldn't feel bad for running a profitable business, right? So chances are, coming back to what I said about business will teach you things about yourself, chances are you've either got a fear of success or a fear of failure, and it's challenging. If you've got a fear of failure, it'll disable you from taking risks. And if you've got a fear of success, you'll sabotage a lot of opportunities. So like what realm are you standing in, and do you have to Taylor Swift shake it off and just move on to greener pastures, which is what you were born and what you were created for, right? So you got to shake it off. Wherever you are, just give your shoulders a little shake, give them a little shimmy, give your head a little shake, nod your head back and forth, side to side, give your foot a little shake it off, shake it out, and just be that person, be that business owner, be that boss, be that dad, be that husband you were created to be, that wife, whatever. Doesn't matter who you are. We don't care who you are. Just be excellent, right? Okay, here's where I'm going to land this plane. Change the goalposts. Too many of us are shooting for best case scenario, and we're shooting for best case person, and we're getting left with crumpets. Stale crumpets. I don't know where that came from. The boys have been eating crumpets upstairs. Crumpets are pretty good. I shouldn't have said that. You're getting left with dirt. And not that fancy kind of dirt, right? Joe Diute kind of stuff, right? You're getting left with nothing. And I want you to change your goalposts. Why do you keep shooting for 100% efficient? Why do you keep shooting for 8 for 8? Why don't you shoot for 10 for 8? Why don't you shoot for 14 for 8? Why don't you shoot for 12 for 8? Why are we trying just to scrape by? You should be shooting, instead of shooting for 100% efficient and getting a gentle breeze knock you back down to 90 or 80, shoot for 120, 130 and let a gentle breeze knock you back down to 110. A gentle breeze shouldn't knock you back past 100. Now let's talk about gentle breezes. Callbacks, they're going to happen, right? Mistakes happen. Warranty on items, it's going to happen, right? We used to have no warranty on sensors because they are cooked and they're so bad. But like, ask yourself, what are you quoting for? We're quoting for 120. If you're on the tools, you should be hitting 130% efficient. So when Barry comes along, Barry being your tradie, or Susie being your tradie, they're hitting 110 to 120 because they're not quite as good as the big dog, not quite as good as the roughing lord, not quite as good as trade god Jesus blessing you and kissing your head on the way out of the womb to put some pliers in your hand to get the job done. So stop quoting for 100. Start quoting for 130. See what happens. You got to, like, chances are you're quoting for 100 and you might be winning the work, but you're losing the battle in terms of making money. And why? What's the point? And you're like, if I put my prices up a little bit, I might lose that client. And it's like, do you want the client that you're currently losing money on? I genuinely, like, if you pull yourself out of the day to day, that might not be, you might not want to keep going for the clients that you're losing money for. And this is where job costing comes into it. So important, because job costing builds intellectual property builds confidence. When you're confident, when someone challenges your price, hey, are you sure? Like, are you sure this is $8 grand? Are you sure this is 10 grand? Are you really the head of the Quickie Mart? Really? Yes, you? Simpsons guys, get me, right? So it's like when someone's challenging you and you're like, oh, I know that's worth that. We've just done 3 like it and here it is. So confidence, right? Confidence. Don't forget this story, right? One of my friends just got this quote for solar, and I passed on the contact. So I passed on the contact and she called me and she was like, hey, just checking this guy's legit because he's 20% cheaper than the next person. And I was like, he's 100% legit. This person is legit. You can trust him. But this is interesting, right? It's interesting because she was sus on the cheaper price. And that's the kind of clients you want. You want the kind of clients that are like, why is that person cheap? What do I need to be worried about? If you're in that sort of rock bottom tier, bottom feeder market, is that where you want to stay? You know, like I don't think you're born to do that. I think you want the clients that are happy to pay the rates, to pay what you're worth. They want honesty, capability, transparency. They want the trust. Trust is a currency, right? It's a currency. They want to know if push comes to shove and the crap hits the fan, are you coming back? So my final landing of the plane is stop quoting for 100, start quoting for 120. Vroom, 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 vroom. Get that forward laser flat to the floor, pedal to the metal, and change your pricing structure. Peace.